So I started as a florist when I was 15 years old. I worked for Green Bay Floral. They were a fourth generation family run flower shop and greenhouse. So I started working for them and very quickly fell in love with the craft. And, because it was my job that I had in high school, I thought I had to do something different after I graduated. And I decided to pursue my dream of bread baking, and I went to bread school in Vermont, and I ended up working in New York City as a bread baker for some very well-known bakeries, and got to just experience, living out one of my dreams. And the pandemic happened, and I moved home, and everything kept telling me that I needed to be back in the floristry industry and working with plants and serving the community around me, because there's so much that we do in the floral world that's not just, pretty roses and flowers. We deal with all kinds of grief and big life events. And there's a need for compassion and care in that. And after I had moved home from New York City, I was living with my parents, and we moved to Beloit, which is, southern Wisconsin, and I was doing flower work down there. And unfortunately, my father passed away, and doing his funeral was probably the hardest piece I've ever made in my life. But through that process, it really gave me a better understanding of what families go through during the grief process. The average funeral minimum costs $10,000, and seeing that not everyone in our community has that, and that I was called to be a space for these families. And through all of my grief journey, I ended up meeting my now husband, and it was very crazy how we met. We didn't know each other very long, and he was home on leave. We got married very quickly. I moved to Germany, and he finished out his time in the military, and we moved home, and it was time to do something different. And we said, let's give this a shot. And we were given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start our flower shop and to be part of a community that was welcoming to us. And we decided that in creating our shop, that we needed to be more than just a business. We needed to be a space for people to experience all of their big life things. And we do discounts for families who lose family members to veteran suicide, organ donation, or infant child loss. Along with that, we understand that not every family can afford to have flowers at all. So we've started a program to do floral rental for low-income families, where we bring sympathy pieces to their loved ones' celebration of life or their funeral, and then we pick the pieces back up, and they're made out of wood flowers, and they're really, really beautiful. And they allow those families to have a beautiful send-off that they might not have otherwise been able to give their loved one. And so in all of my travels and all of my things, everything just kept pulling me back to being a florist, to serve the grief community. And I think that's been my driving force, is to have my shop, is to be able to serve others in their greatest times of need. Yeah. It's so crazy to feel called to do something and have God say, yes, you are called to do this. I am going to lay out this path for you to do this. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be the biggest leap of faith that, you can take. But God has so many amazing plans for us that, if you would have asked me 10 years ago if I would be doing this, I would say no. Actually, one of my employees, I've known her since I worked at the Children's Museum almost 15 years ago. And even back then I had said to her that it was my dream to have my own flower shop, and now to come full circle and work with the people who have known me for all of this time and have known my struggles and to see my dreams come through and to know that they have my back and to have this beautiful team that we're building. And it's just really incredible. I'm in awe every day. We are in our 7th month of business. Yeah, in our 7th month. And so it feels really crazy and a little bit surreal still that we are a real flower shop. We're up, we're functioning. We send out flowers 5 days a week. We service weddings and funerals and parties and corporate events, and we're doing it. and it's ours. And we are so thrilled. Like it's a dream come true. How many people get to have their dreams come true? Yeah, they're always there, and they help us. You know, some people will say, well, flowers die. Yes, they do die, but they serve a greater purpose to remind us that somebody cared, somebody thought about us. They remind us to stay present and in the moment, because you're right, the flowers will die. They won't be here forever, and neither will the people that we love. So let's take a moment to appreciate the beauty that's all around us, that others have chosen to share with us. You know, we understand that flowers may be considered a luxury item, but we believe everybody deserves them. Everybody deserves a minute in their day to stop and smell the roses, to appreciate the things around them and the people that love and care for them. So to be able to work in an industry where we know we're not a necessity, but people still choose to spend their money with us and send this very, very special, particular kind of gift that, you know, it's not the same as sending jewelry. It's not the same as sending, you know, balloons. It's how many people's lives have been included in making this day special for you, you know, right down to our flower wholesalers. Our flowers come from Ecuador and Colombia, Guatemala, California. There are people who drive across the country. They do, they only stop twice and they switch drivers, and they do long hauls from California to Wisconsin to get these flowers to us here. It's, you know, it's a global industry that we get to be a part of. And for being something so global, it's so personalized and so individualized that we don't get to do this. This isn't a corporate thing where, you know, you check a box and everybody, you know, is a number and it's the same. No, every arrangement we make, it tells a story, whether it be for a birthday, for an anniversary, for a miscarriage, for, you know, who knows what it's for. We get to be part of that, and we take pride in everything we do and making these arrangements special and made with love. We get to do that. How lucky are we?